Geddy Lee, the bass player and singer of the Canadian band Rush, wanted to play bass on the first song. I offered to play bass on the second. I felt it would be an appropriate tribute and golden opportunity to play exactly what Chris played on the original recording of the second song. Between the various other inner circle members, the atmosphere was palpably tense. Attempts to pal up were in vain. We kept our distance as we played both songs a few times, trying to get the necessary cues and endings sorted out. Luckily for me, my son Dylan came too, thereby gaining further insight into this strangely dysfunctional outfit. He helped me steer through the extraordinarily weird world of a group that had started in 1968, 2 years before I joined. I heard some pretty vague talk about the future during the gaps, most of which didn't add up to much in the grand scheme of things. On the day, the stage was set up as if for a big TV show, with cameras, lights, people talking on headsets, crew wheeling equipment on and off, and general pandemonium. Everything was tested, the music and our patience, with our equipment and physical positions noted for spotlights. Various issues raised their ugly heads during the afternoon, and manoeuvrings were noted as various managers, publicists, and tour managers tested the patience of the Hall of Fame staff over matters that everyone thought had been agreed beforehand but were now apparently up for debate. So be it. These were power struggles driven by nincompoops without their 9-volt battery inserted. I was delighted to discover that all wasn't lost, with Dave Nattell mixing the front of house and the broadcast. We were in safe hands, as Dave had mixed us and Asia many times, as well as the Rolling Stones and many others. His words of assurance about the clarity of his mix gave me great consolation. This was a slightly coded statement about what would feature in the mix and what might not be so audible. As soon as we could, Dylan and I returned to the hotel for a few hours. We returned to the dressing rooms marked yes. Alan, Chris, and I had been touring, firstly with Benoit David and Oliver Wakeman, and later with Jeff Downes and John Davison for the last 9 years, joined by Billy Sherwood in 2015, and we felt justified to be there as yes. A separate room was set out for ARW, Anderson, Rabin and Wakeman. Every attempt had been made to avoid unnecessary time with them. We made our way to the hall, where Dylan and I sat at the yes table with Alan, Jeff and Billy and Martin Darville, our manager. After Electric Light Orchestra and Joan Baez had been introduced and performed, we were beckoned to the stage. Alex Lifeson, guitarist with Rush, and Geddy talked about our music and introduced us individually. We played Roundabout with Geddy on bass. He certainly did us and himself proud, realising his ambition to play Chris's parts. We had it pretty well down, as at rehearsal we'd discussed keeping some space in the verses and starting the chorus with only my guitar. I moved between my variacs for the acoustic parts and my second-best Gibson ES-175D for the rest of the song, ending like the record with the acoustic. I sung my usual parts along with John, and I seem to remember that Trevor didn't sing many of Chris's parts. I switched to a hired Rickenbacker bass for Owner of a Lonely Heart. I now play Rickenbackers exclusively for all my bass parts, and this bass was identical to my own. A Sunburst 2001 model, it is, of course, very similar to the model that Chris played. Once the 4-chord intro started, I played the bass exactly as it had been recorded by Chris in 1982. The cabaret ending was a reckless jam, and I managed to inject Chuck Berry's Duck Walk. He'd passed away recently and had received plenty of accolades on the night. The event was live-streamed, and the TV broadcast provided a tighter version. Some suggested that we were the best band of the night. It was certainly the weirdest set, only 2 songs, I'd ever played with Yes, but it seemed to me that some other force was operating, allowing us to get through the performance with a minimum of exposure to each other. We remained 2 different camps, as we did in our speeches. John Anderson was light-headed and sent his love out many times to Janie and their friends. Alan also spoke for a while. Then it was my turn. I was the only member of Yes to have written anything down in preparation, as the Hall of Fame had asked us all to do. I'd like to thank all the fans for believing all these years that we deserved and need to be